Tom, last month, didn't you write some sort of article about people taking over containers and apples and things like that?
Well, it wasn't quite that, Robin. I did a comparison between different kinds of container methodologies, one of which comes from an organization called Parallels, and it's virtuoso and fairly long, comparatively stable product group that has gotten a bit of attention from OEMs, and actually their big market is hosting companies who want to build appliances and rapidly provision customers with, the mundane stuff like mail, WordPress, and oh yeah, the meter turns on and everybody forgets to turn it off, which of course makes the ISPs and service providers very happy. And then we compared, additionally to that, another container methodology called Docker, which is hot technology about how to strip out all of the evil stuff and run things inside of a sandbox container system, and then even run fleets of those things if you like to do big data-ish and HPC-ish sorts of analysis. And turns out that Docker, which uses Linux containers, um, isn't anything but a lot of fun because it's certainly not secure, and it's got just incredible variations of stuff because it's so easy and simple to do. Um, However, any organization putting these sorts of things into production without having chapter and verse in terms of the background of where the container came from, what it's composed of, and so forth, is pretty much opening the doors to the marauding Huns to their organization. And so I tried to explain my sense of the fact that Docker containers, while really fun and ostensibly poised towards security models that might help bring in a chain of authorities into the equation so as to make things safe, well, all that stuff didn't flush. And I got a bunch of emails saying, hey man, we're having a lot of fun with this stuff. So like, lay the hell off, would you? I mean, come on. These are so cool. Look at this. I can go and shoot 500 of these suckers into a single machine, dude. Now let's go see you do that. And so, well, fast forward to Apple has its Xcode, uh, which was distributed through third parties, not the stuff that came from Apple themselves, but through third parties, got tainted with a payload that infects iOS. And suddenly, developers find all of their cool apps that were making cha-ching sort of money in the iTunes store evaporate, along with, of course, any kind of profitability or, from a user's perspective, any kind of security that they thought they might have. Why? Well, Apple does allow Apple developers to do a check on the Xcode to see if it's actually valid. Now, how many developers who were trying to make loose and fast money went through that process check to see, oh yeah, hey man, this isn't the same stuff that comes from the developer side. What do we do, Ernie? So, what ends up happening? A big explosion, and suddenly you can hear the cries of thousands of iOS apps going, they've taken me from the store, and they're gone. So, what's the happiness of this? Well, a fear of God has been put into developers so that they understand that they're actually now targets of potential malware infestations that in turn can affect not only their own turf and their own sandboxes, crappy as they are. Oh yeah, they're made of sand, not concrete. But it also is a wake-up call to vendor organizations to try and find methodologies that validate these payloads before you go and, oh yeah, build 1,000 of them. Okay, so I feel a little bit vindicated over the fact that, yes, The chain of authorities is important. Docker is loose and fast. It reminds me of all of the warnings and admonitions that the United States Navy gave to sailors in World War II so they wouldn't pick up STDs in port. So, with that inoculation in mind, will developers actually do the right job and carefully examine what's been going on? Well, yeah, there are initiatives. There are rocket initiatives that start to develop chain of authorities. Organizations are starting to carefully look at what the payloads are. But the problem is we don't really have a sandboxing methodology to validate all of these cool appliances. And yes, they are cool and easily deployed. But unfortunately, there's no good way to look inside like the FDA does at your freaking hamburger to go, oh yes, well this is inspected by number 64. I'm hoping that such a thing comes about because what's happened is that we've once again had a wake-up call, but the problem is developers are going to go back to sleep.